I've never been one to shy away from a challenge. My cabin, tucked away in the heart of a dense forest, was the place where I could get away from everything. It was peaceful, secluded, and the perfect retreat from the hustle of everyday life. But I never imagined that a simple weekend getaway would turn into an all-out battle with the local HOA. They had no idea who they were messing with. It all started one crisp autumn morning. The air was cool, the leaves were beginning to change color, and the sun was just starting to climb over the horizon. As I made my way down the familiar dirt road leading to my cabin, I was greeted by an unusual sight. 2 cars parked across the small bridge that provided the only access to my property. It wasn't just a minor inconvenience, it was a deliberate blockade. I stopped the car, staring at the vehicles. I knew exactly what this was, an HOA move. The local Green Valley Homeowners Association had been known to make life difficult for anyone who didn't adhere to their so-called community guidelines. I had always steered clear of them, never bothering to join the association, but now it seemed they were coming after me. I stepped out of the car, my boots crunching against the gravel, and walked toward the bridge. There, standing with arms crossed, was a woman I had never seen before. She was middle-aged, sharply dressed, and had the air of someone who believed they were in control of everything. "You're blocking my access," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, though frustration was bubbling under the surface. The woman looked me up and down, clearly unimpressed. "I'm Janet Miller, and I'm with the Green Valley HOA. You've been notified about the new restrictions on cabin access. The HOA has decided to close off all roads leading to private properties like yours for safety reasons." I raised an eyebrow. "This is my property, and this is the only bridge that connects me to it. You can't just block me from accessing my own land." Janet smirked. "The road and bridge are technically within our jurisdiction now." I stood there, stunned. I'd never heard anything so absurd. "Your jurisdiction? I've never agreed to anything with the HOA. I don't live under your rules." Janet's eyes narrowed. "The HOA owns the road leading to your property now. You'll be getting official notice soon." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my temper in check. "Listen, Janet, the bridge you're blocking isn't yours. It's mine. I own it. You may have control over the surrounding roads, but that bridge is on my land. You don't have the right to shut me out." Janet seemed momentarily taken aback, but quickly regained her composure. "You're mistaken. That bridge belongs to the HOA, and I suggest you turn around before things get ugly." I could feel my blood boiling. Janet shook her head. I didn't bother responding. I knew what I had to do. Janet might think she was in charge, but she didn't know that I held the key to this whole situation. Later that day, I called my lawyer, Kevin, a longtime friend who specialized in property law. I explained the situation to him, including the claim that the HOA was now in charge of my cabin access. Kevin listened quietly and then let out a laugh. "Luke, I don't know what planet Janet Miller's living on, but she's clearly misinformed. I've looked into the property deeds for that area, and the bridge you're talking about is 100% yours. The HOA has no claim to it." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Kevin continued, "I'm going to send them a cease and desist letter. If they don't back off, we'll take it to court." I hung up the phone, feeling more confident. This wasn't over, and the HOA was about to learn a very important lesson. The next few days were a blur of phone calls, emails, and legal paperwork. Kevin had sent the cease and desist letter, and I was waiting for a response. But I wasn't just sitting around. I decided to go down to the bridge and take a closer look. I wanted to be sure of everything before things escalated. When I arrived at the bridge, I was relieved to see that the cars blocking it had been moved. But as I got closer, I noticed something strange. There were new "No Trespassing" signs posted on either side of the bridge. They were big, bold, and clearly meant to intimidate anyone who tried to use it. I took a picture of the signs and made a mental note to add them to my evidence. This was getting ridiculous, but I wasn't about to let them win without a fight. The following week, Kevin called with news. "Luke, they're not backing down. They're trying to claim that the bridge is part of their development project. I've already filed a formal complaint with the county recorder's office, but they're pushing hard." I sighed. "No," Kevin replied. "They're trying to make an example of you. They think they can bully anyone who doesn't follow their rules. But we're not going to let that happen." A few days later, I received a letter from the HOA's attorney. It was filled with legal jargon, but the message was clear. They were claiming ownership of the bridge and demanding that I immediately comply with their restrictions. They also mentioned that they would be taking further legal action if I didn't stop trespassing on what they now deemed their property. The nerve of these people. I had always believed that the HOA was a thorn in the side of the community, but I had never realized just how far they were willing to go to push people around. I immediately forwarded the letter to Kevin. He was furious but assured me we had a strong case. "They're bluffing. They don't have any right to your property. We'll file a formal motion for an injunction to stop them from interfering with your access." A week later, I found myself in front of a judge. The courtroom was small, but the tension was palpable. The HOA had sent their full legal team, a group of well-dressed lawyers who looked like they were used to winning. I, on the other hand, was standing there with Kevin, my trusted lawyer, who looked like he could tear apart their entire case with one glance. Janet Miller was sitting in the front row, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. She looked smug, confident that the HOA had all the power. But Kevin and I were ready. The judge called the court to order, and the arguments began. "Your Honor," the HOA's lawyer began, "the Green Valley HOA has been managing the roads and bridges in this area for over 20 years. We have every right to regulate access to private properties, especially when it concerns the safety of the community." Kevin stood up, interrupting him. "Your Honor, the bridge in question is not under the jurisdiction of the HOA. My client, Luke Campbell, owns the land on both sides of the bridge. The HOA has no claim over it, and they are attempting to use intimidation and false claims to block his access." The judge, a stern but fair woman, nodded thoughtfully. "I see. Mr. Campbell, do you have documentation proving ownership of the bridge?" Kevin pulled out a set of documents, including the original property deed and maps that clearly showed the bridge was part of my land. I also presented photographs of the "No Trespassing" signs the HOA had posted and the vehicles blocking my bridge. After a long silence, the judge finally spoke. "Based on the evidence presented, it is clear that Mr. Campbell is the rightful owner of the bridge and the surrounding property. I rule in favor of Mr. Campbell and order the HOA to cease and desist all actions related to this matter." I couldn't believe it. It was over. The HOA sent a letter of apology, acknowledging that their claims had been unfounded. They agreed to pay my legal fees, and the restrictions on my cabin access were lifted. But the victory felt sweeter than I had expected. I had fought for what was mine and had won. The HOA had underestimated me, and now they knew that you couldn't just push people around without consequences. As for the cabin, I returned to it with a new sense of ownership, one that extended beyond the land itself. It was a reminder that sometimes standing up for yourself means taking on a much larger fight, and in the end, it was worth it.